Welcome to my webinar presentation on how to integrate culturally expansive and responsive literacy through literacy-based instructions in the classroom and the library at your school. This is a topic that's very exciting to me because I think it really helps students bring text to life and make connections across content and through reading. So, a bit about me. Um, I have been teaching for 12 years and had some different experiences intertwined in there. And a lot of what I have focused on in my life and my teaching has been culturally and language related. I have my ESL endorsement. Um, and have taught in both Spanish and ESL classrooms as well. As my husband is Hungarian, and my students are in Spanish immersion, a Spanish immersion school, and so really the way that this literacy-based instruction really focuses on both content and deeper learning as well as vocabulary and background building, I think is really interesting to me and I think helpful to all learners, but may specifically um, even more than a student who has been in the United States, really assist EL students in grasping what is happening in a text. So today we are going to learn about the value of integrating literacy and literacy-based activities into classrooms and the Media Center, and look at ways that these activities can help students learn and connect to text in a deeper way. We're going to look at some examples of literacy-based activities to try in your class, and you will have a chance after this presentation to reflect on your prior teaching practices and see if there are some pieces of literacy-based instruction that you can integrate with what you already do to create a class where relationships are built and connections are made in a very deep way to texts that you utilize. So, our goal today is to learn new ideas on how to engage students in literature, to continue to develop skills in students and in ourselves that help promote the joy and love of reading for our learning environments, because that's what we're here for. We really want um, that lifelong learning, the values to be understood by students and for them to be really excited about learning and literacy. We also, our goal is to consider how literacy-based instruction can broaden students' thinking in regards to content and the perspective of others. So literacy-based instruction is actually a really powerful tool in teaching social justice to students because they are able to connect with texts and characters and also with their classmates and see different perspectives in the world. So let's look at what a kind of definition that I pulled together through my understanding of literacy-based activities. So these are activities that help students connect to literature and print in order to create meaningful experiences with it. So they are experiences that we facilitate and students engage in, and they move forward and know a little bit more than just with reading a text and answering questions. So there's many benefits of literacy-based instruction, but the most important is that students experience joy and pleasure of reading to facilitate that lifelong learning. Literacy-based instruction and engaging in this way has shown, teachers have seen that happen in their class. Some background information: this type of teaching and learning facilitates language development. It increases reading comprehension, influences writing ability, deepens knowledge of written language, expands ability to think deeply and critically about texts and also about our own lives. It showcases others' experiences and perspectives and helps us understand a little bit about what others may be going through or how they approach the world. As I mentioned earlier, this plays a really important role in social justice education. Um, in addition, literacy based instruction builds context for learning. So it builds the context for students who may not have experienced some of the settings or the experiences in books, and it allows them to kind of understand the vocabulary and the situation where the text is situated. And this is kind of born from three theoretical influences. And I know this can be kind of boring, but I think that these theoretical influences really showcase um, how we can approach reading instruction and just reading and literacy based activities in our class. So, the first is the reader response method. And this theory, um, in this theory, the idea is a transaction takes place between the reader. Um, they may take an emotional stance when they read or an efferent stance, which is focusing on acquiring information. So they may go back and forth between the two, depending on what they are trying to make sense of or connecting with within the same text. But at each given moment, they're kind of moving between those or staying in one of those stances. Um, the cognitive constructivist theory connects in a way that a reader constructs understanding based on knowledges and experiences they already have. So they do not come to us as empty vessels, and instead they have their own funds of knowledge that they bring with them to a situation, or in the case of our classes, content or literature. And then the sociocultural element comes in because learning is social, and students learn through language based social interactions. And so when we give questionnaires and kind of lower level activities for students, they aren't able to engage in reading, writing, listening, and speaking with others. And so their language doesn't grow quite as much. So the literacy based instruction really pushes forward that idea that students are learning with each other and with a teacher, um, with themselves, and they are using experiences that they already have and knowledge that they have built their reality on, and bringing that into text. And we have emotional responses and read for informational purposes as well. So, we are going to look at three categories of methods of integrating literacy based instructions into classrooms in the library. Um, Yop and Yop, in a book called Literature Based Reading Activities, has many great activities to pull into a classroom, and they are categorized in these three areas because when we engage in pre reading activities, the aim is a little bit different than what we may, you know, plan for post reading activities and what we want the students to do with the information that they learned. And our during reading activities are really going to focus on understanding the text. So, the importance of pre reading activities, this allows students to respond personally to the text. It activates their background knowledge, so they have a deeper understanding. It helps develop their language. It sets a purpose for why a text is being read, and it allows students to become curious about a topic or a text. So, some ways that we might do that are through semantic maps or mind maps, where students are able to activate and extend prior knowledge. So, in this example, if they're reading a story or book or nonfiction piece on reptiles, as a class or in groups or individually, could brainstorm what we know, like what are reptiles, what types of reptiles are there, maybe give our opinions about them. Maybe some students really don't like snakes and others think they're cool, and students can find out more information about each other in that way as well. And then students could also write about their experiences with reptiles. Which ones have they seen before? Which have they read about? Which have they never learned about? Have they ever touched a reptile? So students can kind of build that connection with a topic before reading. Concrete experiences prior to reading also have the same function. It engages students with experiences or realia that connect to the text. So before reading a story, for example, set on a Pacific island, students may touch sand and shells. Some students may never have been to the beach, may listen to waves. Students may taste typical foods from a culture, or a parent from the culture may share traditional clothing or objects. Students might play a game that's unique to the youth in the culture. As students are reading, um, the importance of activities can grow or they change a bit. During reading, such activities, literacy based activities, help students comprehend and understand what's being read as they read. It gives focus to their reading. They can focus on language or content. It allows them or kind of creates a map for them in thinking about plot and characters and themes and main ideas. It promotes collaborative building of understandings and interpretations and gives students time and space to respond without just flying through a text and then forgetting what they've read. Okay. There are different types of journaling. Journaling is one really effective ways for students to dive deeper into text and to understand and process what they are reading. So there's many different types. There's double entry journals. These type of journals will have a quote from that students may pull information from the text and then write about their understanding or their interpretation of that quote or segment of the text. There's partner journals where students can write their thoughts as they read the text, and then a parent or peer or teacher responds to it's almost like passing notes, but the topic stays on the reading. Character journals. In character journals, students may journal from a particular point of view. And finally, 10 important words. So if students are reading a chapter of wholes, they might find 10 important words that they think really or exemplify what has been the message of that chapter. So what words and possibly phrases could really exemplify what they've learned. Literature circles also allow for students to engage in verbal conversation, and prompts can be similar to something that students might write about, but they would be questions about how they interpret text. It might have to do with vocabulary that comes up within the text, and students can talk about what they know regarding that vocabulary and help students make connections to bigger ideas through speaking with each other and through prompts. Post reading activities stimulate further thinking, extending their learning, encouraging personal responses, and identify important points and what is meaningful in a text. They share and build upon interpretations and facilitate prompt connections. Poetry responses are similar. Um, in the literature-based reading activities, there are three types of poetry responses that are explained, and all of them allow students to synthesize the information they've read in different ways. So there are found poems where students pull words and phrases that stand out, kind of similar to the 10 words, but more, this can incorporate longer phrases, and they arrange those in whatever order they want into a poem. There are I am poems where students respond to a poem line prompt that all of them start with I am. And they can do this as they think in the mind of a character. So I am, I want, I wonder, I see, I feel, I smell. And students can go through and fill in those blanks as if they were the character. And then finally, where I'm from poems. I am from is repeated on each line of the poem, and it's completed by aspects and elements from the character's life. For example, I am beer, cheese, and corn pudding, or I am from beer, cheese, and corn pudding if you are from Kentucky, or I am from red dirt roads in the country. Um, so this allows them to pull together all the information they know about the characters and maybe the settings where the characters are from, and put it into a different form of writing. Post reading, students can also create character report cards. So students may rate personality traits of characters and include explanations of why. So on the screen, you see a chart with several attributes. There can be more or there can be less. And a character is either given to them or they choose a character, and they grade the character on each of those personality traits. And then they need to comment on why they graded the character in that way. And to end this, there are so many more literacy-based instructional activities, but literacy-based instruction really aligns with AASL standards framework. So in all of these activities, learners create, think, share knowledge, and grow through engaging with others, thinking critically, and creating connections, demonstrating an understanding and inclusiveness through their discussions with their peers and through their, stepping into their character shoes, collaboration with teachers and peers, and exploring engaging texts. So as you complete the post-presentational activity, really think about the last few activities you have done in the class or assignments you have given that relate to a text. Are they connected to a curriculum? Are they something where students engage with other learners, where they engage with the text? Or are they mostly information-based? What we want is to move towards connection with the text, and we want students to have those emotional responses to what they're reading. It helps them remember it. It helps them really carry that knowledge with them. So through this, students are able to collaborate with teachers and peers and also engage with text. So if you have any questions, please comment in the chat box. And if not, to kind of synthesize what you've learned today, complete the activity that is connected with this video.